When we talk about becoming a great church, we're talking about becoming great people, because that's who makes up a church.
Pastor Terry, Friesen.
And God says if you want to be great, we need to live out the great commandments. Love God, love others. You've heard the phrase, the Great Commission. Simply, the Great Commission are the final words that Jesus Christ spoke before he went back to be with his Father in heaven. He left some final word. It's interesting, is it not, to think about what people say as their last words. Jesus left some final words, and he says, okay, disciples, you've got to get this. These are my final directives for living a life of significance. Therefore, Jesus said, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands that I have given you, and be sure of this: I am with you always, even to the very end of the age. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this: I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Living a life of significance. These are the final words of Jesus. They're his final commands that he left behind. He said, these are my parting words before I leave. I want you to get this. You'll find in these verses what it takes for you and I to live a life of significance. And so for over 2,000 years, devoted followers of Jesus, those of us who have taken these words and applied them to our lives, churches who have allowed those verses to be integrated into what they're doing, have lived significant lives. They have helped others. They've made a difference. And Jesus, like he so often does, just turns everything upside down. He says, look, I'm going to give you my final words, because there's a lot of people who are buying into this myth about what makes you significant. The keys to significance are found in what I'm now going to tell you in the Great Commission. It's not about things. It's not about titles. It's not about tools that will help you achieve something more. It's always about internal direction. It's always about what's going on inside of your heart and what direction is your heart going. Jesus said it is not about the externals. True significance doesn't come by the stuff you have on the outside. Jesus said it always starts on the inside. It's always about what's going on in your heart. This is the truth about significance. It's maturity, it's ministry, and it's mission. When you become a devoted follower of the person of Jesus Christ, at that moment you were commissioned to ministry. Am I about the temporary, or am I about that which gives life and light to eternity? We need to find that which is eternal. And it starts by being a follower of Jesus Christ. Following Jesus leads to significance. That's why Jesus said in his Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 7:13 and 14, he says, you can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide open for the many who choose that way. He says, but there is a gateway to life, to significance. But it's really narrow. And in fact, it's really difficult. That narrow road, which is following the person of Jesus Christ, being a devoted follower of his, is no some pie in the sky, everything's rosy, everything is good. It's a tough road to follow. The most difficult road that you can. And in fact, because of that, only a few actually are ever going to find it. Many are on the road to hell. A few will find their way to significance through a relationship with Jesus. It's a fundamental decision. Am I going to follow Jesus? Am I going to be one of the few? Or am I going to be one of the meaningless majority? See, Jesus was pretty clear. The majority of people will just exist unless you and I take this command to be mature and to minister and to mission. But if we make that decision, we can make a difference. If we don't, those who are on that broad path will continue on that broad path, and they will spend eternity separated from God. Jesus said there'll be a significant few who will decide. They're going to make the decision to be a fully devoted follower of Jesus, and they will live lives that make a difference. I want to be a part of the few, living a life of of significance.
Untitled Church of Palmyra.